Kia ora, my name is Shaun, and I am the Catholic Diocese Archivist. And for those of you who don't know, the Catholic Diocese would span a lot of North and South Canterbury, going all the way across to the West Coast. So, yeah, quite a spread of geographic area. Um, but yeah, so that's one of my main roles. So I'll go through a bit of a timeline of what led me to there, and then I'll give you a bit of an explanation of what I do and a few tips. So I guess my story starts like several others at UC. I completed my bachelor's in history, but the thing that really got me going in history and heritage was the opportunities to do internships. I completed one internship with Archives New Zealand as part of my undergraduate, and then my postgraduate year, my final year, I did some work with Environment Canterbury. This was just after the earthquakes, sort of cataloguing a few of their earthquake material that they'd got, which was fantastic. And that led me into my first sort of archival job, a lot of, looking after a lot of their archival material and records out in Lincoln. But then my first sort of full time, sort of more professional archives job was with Ngā Taonga Sound Vision. So they are the national audiovisual archive for New Zealand. They're now based all up in Wellington, but when I was working for them, they had their sound department down here in Christchurch, so I was helping them to catalogue a lot of their archival records there. So we had a lot of material from, for example, the First World War, and I really enjoyed their sound collection that they had with their mobile sound recording units, where they had units traveling throughout the trenches, and soldiers would record onto vinyl discs little messages back home. So being able to listen to those and catalog those was fantastic. Then I had 7 years in Ireland, and that's a whole chapter on its own. But the thing that got me into history and heritage over there, just being in Ireland itself was amazing, because you can't go more than, I don't know, 50 meters without bumping into some sort of 500-year-old castle or abbey or something. And coming from New Zealand, that is like living history. And it's also over there that I discovered public history, which is the field that I'd say I'm mainly in now. So public history being how public audiences like yourselves would consume history through everyday items or institutions like museums and galleries and archives, but also more niche things like murals on the wall or video games set in history. One of the biggest draws of my course was that I got to write a whole essay on historical video games, which is great. A lot of research required for that. Also, I really appreciated being able to have practical experience during my master's in public history that I ended up doing in Ireland. I did one internship at the Belfast Central Library, where I did my first exhibition on displaying these theatre bills from one of the first theatres in Belfast. And then from there, being able to work at the Public Records Office in Belfast, so like the State Archives, and only getting that position through talking to a lot of friends and contacts. So, as a lot of people have mentioned today, really a rate, but just being able to talk to other people working in that industry and making those connections. But now my main role is as the archivist for the Catholic Diocese, a role which I credit to a volunteer role that I had about 10 years earlier. I was volunteering for the Catholic Diocese Archives under their previous archivist, and that's where I started to learn a lot of my cataloguing skills there. So it's great to be able to work in this role. So a lot of the bread and butter of the role that I have now is preserving sacramental registers, parish records, and a lot of physical objects. So baptism registers, confirmation registers, but a lot of the material things that we have as well. A lot of fabrics and vestments and tapestries, and a lot of material that's come out of different churches and cathedrals since the earthquake, especially. So it's a very exciting time to be working in the Catholic Archives, as we're going through a bit of a transition period at the moment. One of the oldest items that we have here, you'll see, is our 1840 Akaroa baptism register. That's one of the oldest items that we have in our collection. It's one that I love taking through to schools. And also this watercolour painting of the 1864 Church of the Blessed Sacrament in Barbados Street. This is the second church that was built on that site. And you might have seen in the news recently that they're building the new cathedral, which will be on their site as well. So I love just seeing that continuity through history as well, through the archives. Also really appreciate the outreach and community engagement I'm able to get. Some of the other roles, also working at Ferrymead Heritage Park, which doesn't directly tie into the archives, but again, a lot of transferable skills that I'm able to use there. And then volunteering at other places like the Rangiora Museum, again, about making networks and connections. Some of my highlights, just sharing the story of diocesan history, engaging with different groups and schools. This is me presenting some of our archival collection to a local primary school, and just being able to have sort of that range of skills and the range of communities and range of audiences they were able to present history to. I'm not necessarily from an academic background, but being able to communicate in an academic way is very different to communicating to primary school kids. So just being able to have that diversity is very cool. And then my final tips for anyone looking to enter heritage, I'd say make sure that you have quite a good presence in the heritage world. It's a very small world I've discovered in Christchurch, the heritage community, which is great because you get to know everyone very quickly. So make yourself very present. Go to events like this, conferences, workshops, public lectures, publish things, even if it's not in a journal. Perhaps consider writing a blog, and then networks, volunteer, work at local archives. I know there's always museums and libraries who are looking for voluntary workers. There's always cataloguing to do. There will be cataloguing until the end of time, so feel free to jump on that. The Cantarge community, the Canterbury Heritage Group, is fantastic. They've always got a wide range of events going on. Heritage societies. My biggest tip is just find your historical niche. Find out which period in history you like or what element of history you enjoy talking about or presenting. For me, it was medieval manuscripts, and then just go for it and take all the opportunities you can get, and then just see where you end up. Thank you very much.